Okay, so here we are in our first demo for story. And this is actually a painting from life. This is an observational painting. We went to a cafe just down the street from our studio and painted inside.
Yeah, how does this kind of work in this lecture? I mean, we went through the lecture of how lighting can help the story, and what's this exercise? How are you thinking about?
Well, I thought that we would start with what we know, which is we've been doing a lot of observational painting. Mm-hmm. And so starting there and then actually using this as a basis to tell a story. Mm-hmm. So this, I thought, might be a good transition between, observation and doing all that observational study and now having to make up a lighting situation. Yeah. So for now, I thought it might be good if we had this lit situation where this sunlight was coming in from this high window, mm-hmm. Off screen right, and streaming into this cafe and just hitting this one corner of the wall.
And one thing I love everybody to pay attention to here is that, this is a pretty kind of a generic cafe in the morning. Mm-hmm. We're sipping coffee and light is streaking through the skylight and yet it has this kind of a certain feeling, and that's story. That yes. That is story. And now, I'm curious. Now you finished this, still life, or the life painting. Mm-hmm. Can you actually maybe place a character and even kind of go farther?
Yeah, I guess the question would be what kind of feeling do we want to get out of a painting like this?
Yeah, what if it's can you create this mystery by placing a character?
Okay, yeah, let's see. So if the most important thing is to kind of create a bit of this feeling of mystery, I think maybe, we could place him back in the shadows, but he might disappear. I kind of think placing him somewhere outside of the pool of light, mm-hmm. So he's kind of in the shadow might be nice, but I still want to be able to see him. I think in terms of importance, it's still important to see our character. So, obviously we're using our character, the pig here from our short film, The Dam Keeper, but just taking him and placing him in a real environment we actually painted from. Mm-hmm. And I'm placing him here just outside the pool of light. So, when inventing light, it's always important to think about, how he's going to integrate. The source of light is not the window so much as it is where this is actually contacting the floor. The light is actually hitting the floor and bouncing back up. And so he's kind of this underlit character. But I think this kind of has a bit of mystery to it. I don't know, what do you think?
No, that's totally cool. I mean, especially since it's a morning, sort of daytime lighting, but you can still create mystery this way. Mm-hmm. And an important thing, like you said, is that we don't lose the character. And yet you still have to kind of look hard for him. That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. And so, I don't know. I mean, there are other possibilities with this, I think, too. Maybe...
What would you do?
Well, maybe we change the light. Maybe, kind of similar to what we've seen in the past, using adjustment layers and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm actually going to not use adjustment layers. I'm just going to paint to try to create another feeling of mystery. And maybe I'll just change the light completely. Yeah. Maybe we'll do something kind of at night or something like that, and try to create a bit of mystery. I like this idea. I don't think just keeping him in shadow is the best way to keep mystery, but I think there's a lot of different feelings we can get out of this. But if we're going to stick with that feeling mystery, and stick him at night, I'm thinking of still he's kind of overall maybe in the shadow, but maybe we play with the kind of light that's hitting him.
So you painted out the strong light. Oh, now you darken the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So evenly lit right now in the room, and then what's that behind him?
It's like a light on a table or something in that hallway back there, and just tracking. Right now, I'm just literally tracking. I've made this decision that I'm going to have this light on behind him to kind of create a bit of a silhouette behind him. And so, and I was playing with this idea, maybe this window light. And then I really came up with this idea of, a candle, try to keep this a much more intimate and focus you in on this little part of his face, maybe.
That's really cool. It's a completely different feeling, but the candlelight definitely kind of makes it more intimate. And yet it's still hard to see that. That's what makes you still wonder what he's up to. Yeah,
and I thought in this space too, it's like, I start to think, well, what's mysterious? Is it the character? Is it the environment? And I think in this space, it might be the environment that's a little bit kind of mysterious here.
I see. Oh, this is probably more, what people think of as a mystery, like, putting it in at nighttime and, compared to the first one, this is a little more of like what we might normally think. Is there any other lighting setup that you can achieve the same feeling, or?
Sure. Yeah, I guess let's try one more. We tried one more, and to maybe try to get that feeling. I think I'll go back to where we were with this even lighting.
Yeah.
So the daylight's not in there, and then try painting in. I think the feeling of kind of him in the shadow overall seems to be, I don't know, maybe it's the obscurity of seeing his face, not quite being able to see his face clearly. But in the other one, it was almost like both of them kind of have a bit of this like underlit.
Yeah.
But let's try to do it without the underlight and maybe keep him kind of the important thing. It's still about staging him, but...
Are you like putting in a window on the wall or something?
Yeah, so I invented kind of a window off to screen right, as if the light is just spilling in behind him. But I want to still keep him kind of in shadow, so I'm almost using that light to stage this silhouette of him in front of this light. And here I think I was struggling with the readability of him.
Yeah.
So, I filled in kind of a bit of atmosphere.
Yeah.
And a bit
coming
of exposure.
from the window.
Yeah, coming from the window. And then lightening in kind of behind him, even that dark area, keeping it a bit light as if the atmosphere was getting illuminated here. And then, so overall you can start to see, trying to create this real feeling of kind of almost squinting into the light a little bit, but in seeing this shadowy figure come towards us.
Yeah.
Is kind of
That's great. Totally. That's awesome.
And again, when we were doing this stuff, I think like the important thing is like we really think about lighting. Mm-hmm. Like it's really in my head. I'm trying to move lights. That's the thing that I'm doing is
in 3D space.
In 3D space. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of how light might move on the space. If there were a light I could control and move around, whether it's poking holes in the wall or moving the sun or moving a lantern or something like that. But in this case, it's really about moving light. I don't necessarily think about just shapes and values so much as I think about moving light and how that might affect the
That's great. It kind of allows, once it's in the hand of a 3D lighting department, that they can understand your painting way better if you're already thinking in 3D space.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now you achieved this mysterious feeling in 3 different lighting setups, and I'm curious of what would look like if you actually painted it completely differently and then maybe achieve a different feeling.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is always also kind of placing yourself, empathizing with the character in this space. And I thought, well, I've been painting all these dark scenes, maybe, getting him let's get him in light. Like, let's paint some light onto him and get him coming into a lit space from a dark space kind of thing. And try to get a feeling of kind of maybe even like what it might feel like to work at this cafe during the day.
Right, less dramatic.
Kind of a little bit, not that the cafe's bland, but a little bit kind of feeling a little more bland every day.
More frontal lighting and just more filled in, more lit up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Overall.
Yeah, and so you can see just kind of really swapping out the value structure of this whole painting and flipping it so that he's light over this dark sort of thing and getting kind of this plain feeling. And I thought, it feels plain, but it almost feels too plain.
Yeah.
I also added a prop, which maybe is a little bit cheating, but I just added a little glass or something on the
little table.
That little table to get a little bit of richness. It's starting to feel like a little flat, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of, just a different feeling. And so you can see how simple lighting stuff. I mean, these are really quick paintings, but simple changes in lighting, even in value, without color, devoid of color, just moving the light around can really affect your story.
Yeah.
Thinking about lighting in 3D space, being clear about what it is you're focusing on, is all really, really important, I think.
Yeah, I think it's really important for everybody to remember that the power of lighting, how effective lighting can actually affect the result of the feeling that you can bring to the audience, right? The composition in here hasn't been changed too much. I mean, you added a window in here and there, but it's pretty consistent. Mm-hmm. But you got a very different feeling by lighting this scene very differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Let's go to the next demo.
Great. Let's move on. This will be more of a where we very clearly have a story point from the get-go. Great.